to the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Welcome, patrons, to your exclusive retro review of 1998's Lost in Space. I'm Josh Burns, and I'm joined by Brian Thornton and CJ Mellon.
Hold on. I'm ready for this with my sick voice. What up?
That's terrible.
That's not good. Hello.
Hello.
So Brian and I are sick for this episode, but we definitely wanted to take the time to talk about this movie. So if you don't understand or know this gravelly voice, know it is I, your friendly podcaster.
I don't find you very friendly, but okay. So, all right. So, Lost in Space came out on May 24th of 1998.
Oh.
For the record, it actually was the first movie to actually be open number one at the box office after Titanic was released in December of the year before. So, it did okay on its first opening weekend.
This was a number one movie?
It opened number one the weekend it came out.
Holy crap.
And then quickly dropped.
Yeah.
But it was directed by Stephen Hopkins, which you probably don't know just off the top of your head, but he's actually done some stuff. He does a lot of TV. He directed Predator 2, also A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 he directed as well.
Okay.
I'm just saying. But recently he's been doing a lot of TV like Shameless and Season of 24 and things like that. So the way I view this movie is it's really broken up into 3 different set pieces. So we're going to go through each set piece. So the first set piece where we meet our intrepid explorers is pretty much on Earth / the Jupiter 1. And movie opens up with Matt LeBlanc being all Top Gun Maverick and being all fly guy, doesn't play by the rules. And that's set up very quickly and very easily because he disobeys a direct order.
You mean the PlayStation 2 cutscene that we saw? Like, wow.
Okay, listen. This is 1998, people. The visual effects are not there. I know it.
But
I know it.
You just said we opened up against Titanic, which recreated an entire ship. And then here's this movie, which can't recreate, a freaking an explosion in space.
This movie could fuck up a 2-car funeral.
Wow. Wow. Clearly, they didn't have Titanic money to make the movie.
What was the budget for this movie?
Or
$80
they
million.
spent all their money on the cast.
They probably spent all the money on that.
Because let's be real. We'll start with Matt LeBlanc. He was in this heyday in Friends.
I need to know how they got Matt LeBlanc to play Joey Tribbiani, playing Dr. Drake Ramore, playing this fucking major.
Yes.
So, while we're talking about him, funny story. Originally cast was Sean Patrick Flannery from Boondock Saints.
That would have been way better.
And I had heard too that they were also trying to get
they tried to get Matthew Perry. Sean Patrick
Thank you.
Flannery
That would have been awesome.
Dropped out, and they got Matt LeBlanc instead. So he is the third choice. So
I
do with that information what you will.
I gotta love when we're setting up this world. Obviously, the Wally would have been very happy to see the world that we were living in because it was a shithole, as is Earth in the future, always apparently.
Yeah, the whole concept is that Earth is 2 decades away from being completely uninhabitable, and that's why they have to go on this mission to try and colonize another planet.
But while we're still living in shit Earth, our fashion sense has gotten to, how can I look like a Power Ranger?
Right.
Like, how can I put fake muscles in for Cairo sleep? But also, when I'm not doing that, how can I just look disheveled but yet still futuristic?
I need to know how they managed to make even Heather Graham undesirable.
So let's go through the rest of the cast real quick. Josh, you mentioned Heather Graham. She is the oldest daughter, Judy Robinson.
Can we please do the math for her, because she's too old to be Judy Robinson, right?
Not in 1998. She's not.
How old was she?
In 98, she was only like 24, right?
Yeah, she was born in 1970.
Wow,
so she
you're
was
right. How
28.
did they make her look so?
Oh, she was 28. Okay,
She was born in 1970, right?
She looks super. She looks super.
But she
young.
looks 18. So she is the team's medical and chief biologist, essentially. Yes. Her parents, William Hurt, is John Robinson. Mimi Rogers plays Maureen Robinson, who William Hurt is clearly estranged from his family. He's been working on this mission for the past 3 years. does not have any sort of relationship with his son, which is totally explored throughout the entire movie. Penny Robinson is played by Lacey Chabert, who you will know from Mean Girls and a bunch of Hallmark movies. And Jack Johnson plays young Will Robinson, who I don't know what he's done since, and
Probably
I need
nothing.
to pause.
Okay. Let's just say space slut. I love my notes. Penny is a space slut.
Since then, Jack Johnson, nothing.
I imagine you're in this movie as a little kid, and you're just like, well, that was fun. And then you see how shitty it is. You're just like, yeah, that wasn't worth it. No, thank you. Like,
My career is over.
I'll just do little commercials for my hometown where I I sell shoes for the local shoe store. All right, so Judy is not too old. All right, I was really. Whew.
So that is the Robinson family.
Can I just say
No.
how much I did not like the actress who played Penny?
Lacey Chabert.
She was
Lacey-
just so
Lacey Chabert.
annoying.
Well, yeah,
She
but
is-
she's every character she's ever portrayed is annoying.
Oh my god! Have I seen her in anything else? I don't think.
Mean
I
you've
Girls,
seen
dude.
Mean Girls.
She was-
I just
everything
said
was
you
so
remember her
fetch.
from Mean Girls.
Sorry, well,
Everything
it's
was so
been
fetch.
9 hours since you just said it, Brian. So my
She
apologies.
is quintessential 1990s
Oh.
hackers goth girl.
But
That is what
she's
is.
generally good looking, and they made her ugly too.
Yeah, she was really ugly, and I loved
She
her
was
little
also 10.
iCarly setup and everything, which was super annoying.
All right, this is
You mean
way
her
before
Snapchat?
iCarly. Calm down.
What?
You mean her Snapchat?
yes, her Snapchat, her TikTok, as the kids would say now.
So we meet the family. We get all this information about how John Robinson is never home and is making apology videos to his children because he's working on saving the world, but he needs to make time to be a dad, god damn it.
Yeah.
And all the kids are pissed off at him with the exception of Judy, who is just like her father and always working on this because she looks like she's 18, but she could totally build a cryogenic sleeping. So, I trust her with that. And then we meet Dr. Smith, played by Gary Oldman. Dr. Smith works for the terrorist group that is trying to sabotage this project because I guess there are other companies besides the military who want to take a hold of that and make a lot of money off of it instead of just giving it to the world for free. So that's his motivation, money. And he goes and he sabotages the Jupiter 1 or 2. And he gets betrayed by the guys who hired him. Excuse me. Gets betrayed by the guys who hired him and passes out in the Jupiter 2 right as after they have taken off and have already left the Earth. So it is these, 6 people on a ship for 2 hours.
So this movie is also incredibly long.
It is 2 hours
This
long.
movie is way too long. And was it a character choice or was it a script? Why does Smith talk in prose and alliteration?
Yeah, this movie should have been 83 minutes long.
Yeah,
Because that is Gary Oldman.
but that's the thing. Did Gary Oldman say I want to do that? Is it in the script that
Probably.
way, or
Dude,
like?
it was bad writing
Oh.
amplified by terrible direction.
Yeah,
Listen.
I mean, my God, is the
I
writing
did not ask for
horrible.
your opinions.
Like a high school play.
Listen, are there some corny one-liners?
No.
Yes, there
no,
are plenty of
every
corny
every line was like,
there was one that really stood out to me when they were talking about Will. Right, he was hijacking the projection system at school. Right, and then Penny says, "Well, he's pretty sharp for a midget." And I'm like, "What? What the fuck is what?" And just some of these lines are just really weird and out there and just make no sense. This is a weird movie.
It is a weird movie, and that's why it's enjoyable. I enjoy this movie. So pretty much the first act is just to meet the cast, to get to know the relationships, and then they ascend. The ship gets busted up, and they have to go into hyperspace without knowing where they're going to survive.
Yes.
And then we get to the Proteus, which we realize is they've somehow not just gotten lost in space, but they have traveled forward in time. And Matt LeBlanc does some of his best acting when he's not showing his face at all, shooting some spider things as they try to get navigation maps to get find out where they are and get where they're supposed to go, essentially.
I have a question about this too. They're about to
Yes.
jump into the sun into hyperspeed, right? To escape
Yes.
the horrible death that's about to hit them.
They're not jumping into the sun. They're
Well,
just
they're
going
gonna
to
go through the
hyperspace
sun.
through the sun,
right?
Yes.
Mm.
To get there. So number one, that's a very scary moment, right? The console to their ship at the slightest shake or momentum is like a Doctor Who set from the 70s. It just shakes all over the place, which can't be good if that's your instrument panel to fly a ship. The second part is, why is the score at that moment so cheery? It's so light and
'Cause
and
adventure.
happy.
Because adventure.
But they're gonna die, and like the score's
They're
like
on an
da-da-da,
adventure.
da-da-da-da-da.
They are going on a trip in their favorite rocket ship.
The other part too, once they realize that they're lost in space, this movie does something or doesn't do something that the Netflix series, which sparked us to watch this movie, does really well.
I have not seen the Netflix series for the
It's
record.
very good, but one of the things that they bring up is, hey, we're lost in space, and it's going to take us a while for us to get back. And in the show, they go, I don't want that for our children. I want our kids to be able to date and fall in love and have a life. And in this movie, they're just like, hey, we're going to go off into space for years and be lost, and whatever, we're going to do it as a family, even though we got two people who want to bone and two kids who, can't bone each other. Like, they don't mention the fact that their kids' lives are not going to be fun or fulfilled or
Well,
Good at all.
Penny is supremely pissed off about
That's
leaving
like her whole.
because of
That's
that.
like her whole point.
That's her whole
right,
story arc.
but the parents don't bring up that issue. The parents don't feel
You
that
have
bad.
to take into context when this movie came out. In 1998, these were the type of movies you got. Things about how strong the family unit is and how, family sticks together, those types of movies. That you have to take that into context when you're talking about this movie.
Yeah, for like
You can't just apply today's
no,
standards.
but like
to
for
it.
Honey I Shrunk the Kids, sure, because it's a temporary solution. It's a temporary problem.
well,
it's
3
a-
years is
it's-
temporary.
It's the same thing.
10
It the
years is
same thing.
temporary?
3 years is temporary.
Yeah, but they were talking about 10 at one point.
They were talking about it would take 10 years to get to the planet. They were going to be hypersleep. for
Right,
10
but then when they
years.
got out and they're like, "Oh no, we can't go back to hypersleep because it's all broken." And it's going to take 10 years.
No, that's not how it works. They were going into hypersleep.
Right.
It would take 10 years to get to the planet they were going to.
Correct.
They would build the ring,
Yes.
and then that's it.
Right. So then
When they're lost, they didn't say anything about.
So then
they're
the,
just
the
like, we're
robot
lost.
the robot comes out and shoots everything and breaks all their systems, which breaks hypersleep, right?
Uh-huh.
So then they're like, "Oh no, we're still going to go to this planet." This is before the whole sun issue.
No,
No,
it's not.
after the robot,
No.
they immediately have to deal with the sun.
Pretty much like in 2 seconds. Like they fix everything. They go, okay, what's going on? They bring up the window shade, whatever you call it.
Sure.
They are right in front of
Call it-
the sun.
yeah, the
he
window
goes,
shade.
we're way off course.
that protects you from the sun.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah.
He goes, we're way off course. And then they start getting pulled into the
all
sun.
right. Well, I thought there was
And then
more
they
time between it.
hyperspace. And then they check the map again. And that's when she says, we're lost, aren't
That's
we?
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's how those string of events happen.
I'm also
So you're saying that we're lost.
in space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually did that. Instead,
Yes.
William Hurt said there's a whole lot of space to get lost in. That's an actual line from the movie.
Why don't
Feel free to drop that in there,
just
CJ.
why don't I like any of these people? Why don't I like any of these characters?
Because you're devoid of joy. But what I'm really trying to get to just kind of make you guys understand is that 1998 was a different time, people.
Yes, it was.
And we thought 2056 would be a really different time, apparently. Because I think that's when this takes
As
place,
we always
20
it does. Yes, it
2058.
does. 2056.
So you have to take that into context when you're thinking about this movie. I'm not saying Matt LeBlanc should get an Oscar for this performance.
Armageddon
He-
was released in '98.
Yes, it was.
Oh. Okay.
That's more of a what?
That's more believable than this.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because it's, Bruce Willis, Michael Bay. What you have to understand is this. What I think happened is they thought that this movie suffered from the Aragorn, Jumper, and I Am Number 4 syndrome, where they
Oh, they were ready for a franchise.
They signed on and planned to do 3 movies.
Yes.
They were all signed on for 3 movies, and they did this movie with the intention of just setting up everything. Let's get everything out of the way for the plot so you understand what the plot is. Let's get all these characters set up. Let's do all this. And yeah, some fun stuff happens in between. End movie. And then we'll be good for a second one. And they never got to do a second one. That's the main problem with this movie. I enjoy this movie. I think it's fun.
This movie is terrible.
Crap.
There are moments. Like I like the fact that the robot is the original robot from the series, and I like the design is a callback, right, to the classic robot from that. I like that a lot. But then we're also having things like Matt LeBlanc look into a camera say, if this is all a dream, why can't there be more girls? And even for the 90s, I'm just like,
his character's
ugh.
written pretty shittily.
Yeah, or like the Buzz
His character's
Lightyear,
not
They're
good at
all
all.
written poorly.
or the CGI monkey. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but the CGI monkey is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And
Blarp.
yeah, and they were going to start with they were going to do a puppet, an actual puppet,
Yeah, you can tell in some scenes
but it
she's
didn't
holding
look
a puppet.
real enough. And I say that with quotes. So they went with this CGI monkey, which has no interaction with the actual lighting or people in this movie.
Well, that's why he changed his color. He's a chameleon.
Deep Impact was also released in
I agree.
Are you just naming other
there's
1998 movies?
Because while I agree, hey, I can't hold it up to 2020's like CGI standpoints and space and how we tackle some of these issues now. I can look at Armageddon, Deep Impact, I can look at other Titanic, other movies that came out around this time that did a large epic story much better. Even if they thought that they were going to get the opportunity to do 2 more to like really flesh things out, like this is not done well enough even for 1998 standpoints.
Like even family-friendly movies don't give me this. Give me Small Soldiers or A Bug's Life.
Right.
Well, this was supposed to be a
Pleasantville.
family movie.
That's why
In
I'm
fact, Gary
comparing it
Oldman
to
signed
those.
on because he wanted to do a family film.
I'd rather watch Air Bud.
The coolest thing that I saw in this movie that was like, oh, that's awesome, was like the Iron Man helmet gun combination that Don gets when they're on that ship and they're shooting the spiders.
Exactly.
That's so cool. That's
what I'm
a
saying.
really
It's the
cool
best part.
moment. And the
Yeah.
robot, he's being controlled by by VR and he's punching things. That's really cool. And then the rest of it is just real bad. And then when we get to the third act of this movie, wow, do we ask for some big leaps and do we ask for some big stick with me, guys? Moments that I am not bought into at this part.
Why? They spent the entire movie setting it up. Will had been building that
Oh,
time machine since the beginning of the movie.
I get that, but like if you can't nail the space travel stuff yet, if you can't even get me to believe space spiders, right?
Oh, you're talking about Gary Oldman Spider.
Yeah, that is wow. That took a. Also, when their ship crashes into the planet, right? I can't understand the size of their ship, and I wish, Josh, now that you have taught me this, I wish I had a banana for scale. I could just know how big is said ship. I don't understand the world that we're in at all. And it takes way too long for me to care about these people, to care about the world, to understand the rules, that by the time you get to bending those rules, I don't understand it because none of the rules make sense.
What don't you understand about the size of the ship?
Well, they're just like crashing into a mountain.
It's large. It's a giant ship.
But like, that's way too big of a ship for 6 people who are supposed to be asleep for 10 years. That's way
Right, but
too big.
It's got all sorts of other things on
Yeah,
there
just-
too. It's got like different levels and stuff like that. Who cares?
I'm just
They didn't think about the fact that we're all going to be asleep, I guess. So they just built a giant mini city inside a ship.
right. And again, I hate to do this, but in the Netflix show, it's a small ship.
See, you're jaded by the Netflix.
No, I'm
show.
jaded by
That's your
how
issue.
shitty this movie is.
Eh,
The ship is too, like, Smith is in like a downstairs huge room where he's breaking everything, and no one has a camera, no one has a way to watch him, no one's keeping track of this guy. The guy came in there and tried to kill everybody. They lock him in a room, and then they're just so nice to him all the time. And I'm just like, why? Why are we nice to this guy? Throw him
'cause
out
they don't
into
wanna be-
space.
They don't want to be monsters either. Then they're just as bad as him. They said that too. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say this is freaking Shakespeare
Well,
or a classic
but
cinema.
hold on.
This is a fun.
But Gary Oldman is
movie.
trying
It's
to make
just
it Shakespeare.
fun. It's just fun. It's a fun film. It could have been written better. Yes.
I need to go to Disney with you, and I want to really assess your level of funds on things.
Well, the end of April, you're more than welcome to join me. It is just fun. I watched it again after almost a decade of not watching it, and I still had fun. Was it perfect? No. Is it a 5-star movie? Absolutely not. 2.5 stars? Maybe. But I had fun. It's not like it's a wasted 2 hours. That's all I'm looking for Lost in freaking
total
space.
waste of time. I got half an hour into this, and I watched it with Jenny, and she goes, "I turn this off. I'm not watching the rest of it." So I took half an hour off, came back the next day to finish out the rest of the movie, and I several times paused the movie, saying, "Clearly, I'm almost at the end. It's been 3.5 days since I started this movie. Oh my God, it's only 40 minutes in. It's 10 minutes from when I stopped last."
I'm 40. I couldn't finish.
And-
I must have had 4 or 5 different sittings, and I got through 2/3 of the movie.
Also,
Man, you got.
here's a question,
I have
too.
seen so many worse movies.
Oh,
that
no,
do
man,
this
this
all in
is
one
up there
sitting.
with.
I have not
I've
seen
seen
many
so
movies that are
many
worse than
This is-
this movie.
Okay, you're
You
trying to
clearly
tell me.
need to get on
You're
my
trying to
movie
tell
watching
me
level.
there's 2 things that happen in this movie that
Brian, in the past year alone, I've watched. I mean, I can't even. Don't talk to me about a watching level of any kind.
Right.
I've got it. I'm on it.
You're there with TV shows. I'll give
You're
you that.
honestly trying to tell
That's
me.
no different. This is. I'm not sure I've seen TV shows that are worse than this, and my kids are watching like dubbed over telenovelas.
Speaking of dubbed over, the actor who plays Lane Price in Mad Men plays the older Will. That is not his voice. That's not
No,
him.
he was not. He wasn't old enough at the time. Another fun fact.
But-
he wasn't old enough.
so-
he I guess.
So
his
why
voice
hire
syndrome-
him?
I don't know.
And then they dubbed over his voice with someone else's voice, and it's off.
that part
a
I don't
lot.
know.
It like there's moments where
yeah.
it doesn't match up, and you're telling me you saw Spider Smith, which is how he's credited, and you were like, "That's awesome. That's so cool."
It's an interesting concept. It's 1998. I'm not expecting it to look amazing,
I'm not
especially with the
talking
fact
about-
that they don't have
No,
Titanic
I'm
money.
not talking about the visual effects. I'll leave that into that's a product of the 90s that they did the best they could. The fact that someone's like, you know what would happen? We should
an
scratch
alternate
him with a
universe.
spider, and he should turn into a spider.
Sure, why not? It's an alternate universe. I've seen worse. I've read worse.
No,
I read
it's not an
comic books.
alternate
There's so
universe.
much
It's an
other
alternate
crap.
timeline.
It's an alternate
It's the
timeline. That's what
same
I'm saying.
universe that we live in.
I understand that. I meant alternate timeline.
But it's so dumb. That's a dumb idea. It's like that guy who did the mechanical spider for Wild Wild West.
So
Let's just
how
throw
would
a
you make it
spider
better?
into there.
You know what? That's the same year. I guarantee you. I wonder
It
if
probably
it's
is
the same
produced by
producer.
him. Let me know.
Let's find out. He had some sort of
If
obsession
you would
with
have
spiders.
told me that it took that this movie was made with $5 million, I would believe you. But it was an $80 million budget for this movie, and it's so bad. And then and at the one point where they're doing this alternate timeline and sending people back in time, I said, "Oh my God, if they make this movie all fake or let's undo it by sending him back and never causing the problem to begin with and undoing all this work with time travel," I was going to turn off the movie and just run away. But then what they did was like even worse. Like, "Hey mom, I miss you. Look, I'm going to die in this timeline and you guys take care of Will." And the movie is saved by love. I was
The movie didn't make its money back in the U.S.
Oh really?
Like,
Well, yeah, that's
No.
why they didn't do
Oh,
2
oof.
sequels.
I
told you it opened at
I
number
feel like
one.
not only
it opened. CJ, the movie opened opening weekend 20 million
Oh.
of its $80 million budget.
Jesus.
That's pretty
That's
strong.
really good.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
really good in
That's really
1998.
good.
Okay,
That's a really good return.
Finished at 69
Oh,
million.
man.
Everybody was like, it was
Ugh.
full stop.
It's someone just said, "I don't want to watch Titanic for the 3rd time. Let's go see something else." This has Matt LeBlanc in it. I like Matt LeBlanc. It's in space.
You know what?
That's
Let's go
different than
see
the
Titanic.
ocean. And then you got there like, "Oh, this is terrible."
Let's not go to Camelot. Tis a silly place.
It's only a model anyway. And that's the other part. This made me feel like not only are we trying to sell a movie franchise, but man, do I feel like you're trying to sell me a ride or a video game attached to this property. Like, you're not trying to sell me on what we're watching now. It's all these promises of the future, or like, come to Universal Studios and we'll let you ride on Lost in Space. I don't know if Universal Studios owns.
No, they do not own it.
Whoever owns this.
I'll look it up.
But
Hold, please.
like this was bad. This is it. When you hear bad sci-fi movie, like when you hear like, oh, it's sci-fi.
This was a New Line Cinema
New
film.
Line Cinema. That's Time Warner.
That's
Time
what
Warner
it is.
AOL. So this is
New
Warner
Line
Brothers.
don't they do horror? Like, what's the?
Yeah, they do.
What's
They
that?
do a lot of horror movies, but they also did like didn't they do like E.T.?
They did a lot of stuff in the 90s. They did like
Yeah,
everything.
they
in the
did, they did a
90s.
lot of things. But, oh man, dude, this is and fuck Blarp. Just fuck Blarp. I can't believe this. And the end credits song. Please tell me. I would like for a moment. Can we please talk about the end credits song?
I fucking love that
Oh
end
my
credit
God.
song. I
Who?
like.
All right, let's. Take
I
the
will
moment.
listen to that again.
What happened to you, Brian?
I'm adding that shit to
what
my Apple
happened to you
playlist.
that you saw this
It's
movie?
so fun. It is so
How
90s.
old were you? Like, what did you get a hand job in the theater? What happened to you,
You
when
wanna-
you first saw this movie?
I want you to think about it this way. All the reasons that you hate this movie are all the reasons you enjoyed Venom for some reason.
What?
What?
Think about that.
What?
You mean production value is really low? Wait, no, production value on Venom was pretty good.
All right.
The
With the
story
exception of
was
production
very
value.
was very awkward. Sure, it was pretty bad story. I didn't enjoy the story of Venom, but
acting not up to par. Story was not very good. CGI was messy.
There weren't giant gaps in the writing. There wasn't timing issues.
Has a song that says the name of the movie in the
okay.
song.
So here's the other part: the flare.
It was a very 90s superhero film.
They make the constellations of Bugs Bunny and Porky Pig, and then when Penny shoots up
has
the
a Warner
flare to get Don and everybody back up, it looked like Bugs Bunny.
Looked like Daffy Duck.
Which
your
means
shit together.
that they engineered a flare. They took extra time to engineer a flare to look like Bugs Bunny.
Daffy Duck.
Was that Daffy? I thought it was Bugs.
It looked like Daffy Duck. Like, seriously. What is wrong with you?
Looney Tunes.
Watch a fucking Looney Tune.
She drew a bunny.
No, she drew Bugs Bunny, but the flare was
Oh my God,
Daffy
but
Duck.
that's even worse that they took time to designate the credit. I feel like you hit you were the target age for this movie. Like you were
In 98, I was 12.
Yeah. Yes, this is a movie for a 12-year-old. And you bought it hook,
I'm okay
line,
with
and
it.
sinker. And I think you can't take off your 12-year-old goggles to realize that this movie is dog shit.
This was a drive-in movie for me.
Of course it was.
I remember seeing this in the drive-in.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah.
I've completely changed.
Yeah, look at
I'm a
you.
different person now.
Hell, you sound like a waitress at a Denny's.
No,
I call
no,
everybody
no,
now.
damn
This
it.
is what you get.
Oh, damn it.
Would you like a side of bacon with
Yeah,
that?
there you
No,
go.
You're not. You're almost.
Wazowski, you didn't file your papers.
No, not. That's not right either. That's not the right voice. It's he's got fucking like Harvey Firestein voice.
Oh, God.
All of a sudden, he's.
That's
Okay,
so good.
anyway.
Uh,
CJ, you're going to need to bring this
That's
show
fine.
home.
Listen,
CJ, you're gonna need to bring the show.
Now, this is
You're gonna need
staying
to bring
in.
it home,
Are you
CJ.
kidding
Bring
me?
the show home.
This is totally staying in. This movie is this movie's a miss, man. I you know what? Sometimes
I disagree.
we have watched a lot
I
of
highly
we
disagree.
have watched a lot of so bad it's good.
Listen,
movies.
if you're a Patreon subscriber and you're listening to this and you like Lost in Space, I'd like you to like side with me here and make your voice heard, please.
this movie
Thank
is so
you.
bad that
Make your voice heard,
Make your
please.
voice
and thank
heard.
you.
I can't even do an imitation of his right now because it will kill my throat. This movie is so bad that Joshua Burns, who is a very vocal person, gave so little shits about this movie. This is the least I've ever heard Josh talk in his life.
And his life.
And all the time I've known Josh, this is the
Okay,
quietest
the time
I've
you know
heard him.
Josh.
I will say this. The only reason I watched 80 of the 120 minutes is because I love Brian. That's it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then
And then
I tried to continue and I went, I don't love him that. I love him enough to get through enough of it so I can speak about it and then, you know, consequently join you two for this additional little podcast action and not just be like, it sucked, I don't care. It fucking mic drop and I'm out.
but at the same time, it sucks and I don't care. Mic drop, let's go.
I mean, it just
Tell Josh,
I'm the
you're in for a
Brian.
treat when we watch The Phantom.
I can't wait to watch the
We're
Phantom.
gonna slam evil together.
Oh my god, it's so funny. Your voice is so fucked.
Fucking wrap it up. I'm done. I'm fucking
I have to go
done.
back to my life of crime in the 1920s.
And cigarettes.
You
I
never
gotta get back to the
me,
speakeasy.
copper.
You gotta hand out the cigarettes before the popo get there. Brian, I already know the answer to this. Would you recommend this movie to people?
I absolutely would. Depends on the person. It depends on the person.
It depends on the person.
It depends on the person.
Depends on the zippity bibbidi
Josh, if your worst
is interested in stuff like this, I would absolutely recommend
Josh,
it.
if your worst
Hands
enemy came
down.
up to you, would you recommend this movie?
Oh fuck yeah! I don't know why you're here. Shouldn't you be at home watching Lost in Space? Might be. Look, it's a little advanced, but you'll get it. You'll get it.
Would you recommend this movie,
Fucking-
Josh, to
you-
anybody?
You fucking simple piece of shit, you. Yeah, I mean, kids, sure, absolutely.
The kids?
a 12-year-old. Yeah, I'll let Christian watch this. No problem.
Would he enjoy
maybe-
it?
Christian will enjoy this movie.
You gotta stop.
I want Christian
Don't
to
gesture
watch
like
this
that.
movie.
You can't gesture like that without first approving the message. You have to. Christian will enjoy this movie. He will enjoy it all in November at the polls. Enjoy the movie.
My name is Brian Thornton, and I approve this message.
I hope. I don't know. I hope he starts. Cheesy pickup
Please,
lines to girls based on this.
Please
movie.
let him watch this movie. I have to hear the Christian Burns.
I want to
review of this
hear
movie.
the Christian Burns review
Absolutely.
of this movie.
All right.
I can't recommend this movie.
Not
It's-
coached by Josh Burns.
I'm not gonna
if you
give him
coach
anything.
him, I want the true review.
You're not. I would never do that. I would never do it. You'll get the straight dope from Christian.
Excellent.
This is-
I expect nothing but straight dope from Christian.
I would not recommend this movie. Not even as a so bad it's good movie. I don't even think you need to get to see this movie to understand our hatred of it. Just watch the trailer. You'll get it. It shows. It's not even a good trailer.
Y'all are off your rockets.
All right. Well, listen, obviously your support to us means everything. So thank you so much for being a patron of That Kind of Nerd. And I hope that you're enjoying the exclusive content like episodes like this. Please share this with a friend. Tell people about Brian's ridiculous voice at the end of this. And that's worth just paying
Thank
for
you, patrons, for supporting
Just for this.
the That Kind of Nerd podcast.
It's so good. All right.
We really appreciate your patronage.
The next retro review that we'll be doing is also a pretty campy, pretty critically pined movie, but it is the Billy Zane version of The Phantom. So thank you so much for making us your walk around our neighborhood or your drive to work, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Well, welcome to the club, cause you are that kind of nerd.